So delighted to be joined on the show today by the director of Heel and Andy, Villablanca. Villablanca, how are you doing?
Very good. Thank you very much for having me. Very excited to be here.
Thanks very much for joining us, for taking your time out tonight. We've had a couple of hiccups getting it sorted, but got here in the end. So first off, congratulations on the movie. We're now kind of post Frightfest. Um,
Thank you.
how was your weekend? How was the just introducing people to Heel and Andy?
It was very exciting. I loved it. It was my
Mm,
very first time because Healing End is my debut feature, and Fright Fest was our world premiere. So being there and screening the film as the midnight movie in the First Blood Strand was clearly a a very emotional moment for me and for the cast. Something that kind of fulfilled our greatest expectations when we made the movie. And I had the best time at Fright Fest. I thought it was it's such a great festival. It's so beautifully run. I had the chance of meeting some really, really good filmmakers. So yeah, I couldn't be any happier than the experience that I've had.
yeah. And as you said, so the kind of the midnight screening, I'd imagine there's a really great atmosphere at that. Just everyone's. I think horror at night just hits a bit different, especially at a festival like that as well. I think.
We came in with the expectation of uh, the stress of screening at a midnight slot, because obviously people expect a wild ride. They expect
Mm,
a kind of movie that's gonna be both funny and scary and a mixed bag of everything, really literally out of the box. So
mm,
going into the screening with a midnight movie in a midnight slot obviously made us feel like, okay, we have some big shoes to fill, and hopefully we did that. I mean, personally, the experience was insane. The energy in the room was amazing. So I think and I hope that those that attended felt like that was Healing End is a perfect example of a midnight movie experiences that you're looking forward to have at a festival like Fright Fest.
mm. Yeah, and for those that don't know, that are maybe catching up on this coverage afterwards, looking for some inspiration for what to watch, what just to give us a brief synopsis of Heel and Andy.
So Healing End is the story of the titular character Andy, who just got dumped a week before his wedding by his fiance. He's completely distraught. He's devastated, and his best friends thought, well, you are already a mess, a heartbroken mess of a man right now, and but you had a whole honeymoon plan that you've already paid for with your ex fiance. So why don't we take that honeymoon and we turn it into a bros trip, so that we can use that to help you heal and get over this devastating time in your life. And so Andy reluctantly agrees to do so. They go on the journey. Of course, one of the characters is one of Andy's best friends is also, he happens to be a famous influencer, and so he uses his influencer persona to both help the friend heal by taking him to places for free and getting free drinks here and there, but at the same time he kind of exploits his grief and his situation for his own benefit, to get more clicks and views on his Healing End, the vlog
Mm.
that is working on in the film.
Yeah. And how did the idea for this come to you? Once I read your synopsis, and I'm very much a fan of found footage, as it were. So a movie made in this style is very much in my wheelhouse. I consume
Absolutely.
them daily. So how did the kind of thought process, like having the influencer involvement, having the location, which we can go into a bit as well, and what was your whole process of building up the story behind Heel and Andy?
Yeah, yeah. I'm a fan as well of fan footage movies. That's
mm,
pretty much where it all started for me. I would say that originally I wanted to try and make a sort of micro budget blockbuster movie, in the sense I'm speaking mostly from like the traditional Hollywood big comedy adventure, you know, three act structure and all those
mhm,
Hollywood tropes that you would find in those movies. And I thought, okay, well, the only probably accessible way to do so is to go with the found footage genre. So
mm,
the backbone of the story for me then quickly became the Hangover, because I thought, okay, I want to try and
mm,
capture that sort of again big Hollywood comedy adventure structure, and adapt it into a found footage genre. So funnily enough, Healing Andy started as a comedy first, and then the horror and the thriller, the drama, the supernatural, all those other elements kind of bled into the story afterwards. But yeah, so originally I would say that probably came from my desire to try and break the mold of the found footage in a way that's like not done before, because I wanted to not make the usual, okay, influencer in a haunted house thing. And so I was trying to find something that could go in a slightly different direction. And that's when the idea of, okay, comedy first, Hangover, big blockbuster structure, let's take it from there. And that's pretty much where it all started, really.
mhm. But it comes together really well, and I think the fact that the cast are all seem really well invested in it as well. You know, they've got to be believable.
Yeah.
You are, it's not like a, in terms of like dialogue and everything, it's not move. It's not like the word this wrong, but it's not like your feature film style dialogue. They've got to be having goes at each other. They've got to be bouncing off of each other and interrupting during talking as well. So it feels very lived in. Was that something that you were again? Was it encouraged? Was there much in terms of like ad libbing together on set? Was it how did that work?
Yeah, I think you know what. Now that you mentioned it, the I remembered when we started working on this. We did a 3 months of prep, 3 months of rehearsal,
Mm,
because to me it was very important that even though the main guys that you see in the film, they knew each other before before I cast them. They
mhm,
nonetheless, I wanted the relationship to obviously, like you said, feel as natural as possible. Like you wanted to really believe that this group of guys, they've been friends for many years. And
mm.
one of the point of references actually was It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, in the sense that
Okay.
the kind of camaraderie and the talking over each other, banter kind of approach to dialogue scenes really came from that. So we really wanted to go in that direction. And yeah, the talking over each other, the very natural dialogue, sort of
Mm,
the first point of reference that I had, yeah, was probably It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. and
mm,
um, and that's how we built it. So after that, I wrote the whole script, which was about 190 pages with dialogue and everything. And then once we got on set, we sort of we followed the script still pretty tightly, but at the same time, we approached each scene with the knowledge of what the dialogue was going to be like, what the certain beats were going to be like. But I
mm,
wanted to give the actors the freedom to add their own little flavor to it, and to improv and to come up with ideas that also would gel together as best as possible, and would create those moments, like you said, in which they were talking over each other, but it didn't really feel scripted. So that really helped also me getting more ideas and feed them back to them live during the take itself. And so it was like a constant bouncing back and forth between me and them. And I
mhm.
think that kept the dialogue and their interaction always as natural as possible, really.
Yeah. Yeah, and it does come across that way, you know. But I think having the kind of live streaming element in it as well, you would need
Hmm.
that to make it feel that natural together. And you know, you've mentioned how I think you blend really well the kind of weird and horrific as well as the comedy in this. You said that it was starting out as a comedy. Was there a point in your writing that maybe it's naturally developed into the horror, but did you ever come to a point where it went for yourself, maybe a kind of light bulb moment almost, where you went, "Do you know what, this would work very well with that blend?" of comedy and horror as well, not just sticking to the
Right.
comedy as you kind of originally planned?
Um, Let me think. I don't remember an exact moment in which I had the sort of aha, eureka
Mm,
moment in and of itself. I do think, from what I can remember, because this was over 3 years ago. It took us like 3 years to get it made, so it's like a lot of the writing process. It's still a bit of a blur to me, to be honest. But I think it was really just a natural development. I think it went like it was mostly from draft to draft that I realized, you know what? I think the story is kind of like screaming for more genre. So, for instance, the
yep.
first draft was mainly a comedy, really, um, but like an action comedy, let's say. And then with the next draft and the next draft, I started adding the okay, well, the heist sequence, when they break inside the ginger's house to get their belongings back.
Mhm.
Then I rewrote that scene, trying to give it, okay, well, what if they break inside her house and they discover that she's not really what they thought she was? She turns out to be a psychopathic serial killer that's stashing like dead bodies in bean bags in her bedroom. So all these little things started to develop draft after draft.
Mhm.
And so I think, yeah, then probably a few months after the very first draft, I realized, yeah, let's go all in as much as we can, as much as it will make sense for the story, into the supernatural, into the horror, the thriller. So, yeah, I would say it has been a pretty progressive genre development that the script has experienced.
Mm. And you said, you're a found footage fan.
Yeah,
Um, was the so just in general, are you a general horror fan as well? So you were able to kind of call on those experiences you've had of watching horror as well, and just maybe taking from that.
absolutely. Absolutely, yeah. I would say horror is my very favorite genre, especially because it's the one genre that allows filmmakers to really push the envelope and really go with really bold stories that in other genre might really not be as impactful and as entertaining, really. Because I think horror,
Mm,
it's a great entertainment tool that we have as filmmakers. Genre in general, really, it's an incredibly powerful tool that I find amazing. So yeah, most of my favorite movies are actually horror film, and yeah, especially found footage. A lot of found
mm,
footage films that have inspired me, especially with the making of Healing Andy. Creep, for instance, was a big inspiration. The Mark
mhm.
Duplass film, not really in terms
Yeah,
of the genre, not the genre, sorry, the story itself, because they're completely different films. But I think watching the
yeah,
film consolidated the fact that okay, you can really tell all sorts of different type of found footage stories. Even if you watch, if you're a
mm,
fan of the VHS series, the anthologies, there are some episodes in there. I remember one from Ty West. I'm not sure which VHS film it was. Must have been maybe, if not the first, maybe the second one, really. And his segment,
yeah.
which
He's
is a
got
20
a few
minute
of them.
short, yeah, it was
Mm,
something that when watching, I was like, wow, like it was truly it was terrifying, and not much
mm,
really happened. But if you watch it, you know what I'm talking about. It's a pretty simple concept, but the idea behind it, it was staggering. So yeah, I've always been
mm,
a massive fan of the found footage. So I guess all of this one by one put together probably did inspire the overall experience of feeling Andy in one way or another,
mm.
really.
Yeah. And the Ty West one, I'm trying to remember what one that is, but he was involved very early on in VHS, yeah, and I think we're now at the 10th one of them this year, maybe. But yeah,
Yeah,
is it the couple?
he's the
Is he
one.
in
Yeah,
one with the couple?
that's the thing. It's crazy because it's about this couple that goes, I think, goes on vacation somewhere,
Yeah.
and there is every night when they go to bed, there is the camera starts rolling once again, but both of them
Hmm.
are in bed asleep. So it implies, of course, that somebody broke in and is filming them whilst they're asleep. and it's
Yeah.
such an unsettling concept, you know what I mean? And then obviously in
Mm.
the end, without giving anything away, there is a big twist as to who is
Mm.
filming and why. And there's a brutal scene as well, and I thought, wow, that looks like something that anybody could really make genuinely. I mean, I'm talking in terms of resources and what have you. So if you
Yeah.
come up with an idea that simple and that effective, could really walk miles and miles. Because I think found footage, if done properly, can really affect people in a visceral way. You know what I mean? So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. 100% agree. Um. So just touching on the whole filming process. So it's set in Sirmione and Garda, like Garda. Is
Yeah,
that right?
yeah,
Mm.
yeah.
And
In
did you
Lake Garden.
fil- did you film on location there? Yeah.
We filmed on location, yes. We filmed over the course
Yeah.
of like about a year, on and off, of course. And
Mm.
yeah, I'm laughing because I remember we had a lot of fun. Of course, it was as you can
Mm.
imagine. And to be honest, most of the people that because we were literally in the streets, it was very guerrilla style filmmaking.
Yeah. That's what I
So
was going to ask. Yeah.
so many people saw Healing Andy years before it even premiered at Frightfest, really.
Right.
But to be honest, the support from like the tourists or the locals whilst we were filming was actually very inspiring, because we could see people really genuinely laughing and having a great time whilst watching the group of deranged people that we were filming this crazy movie. We
Mm.
did run into a couple of police, accidents. Not accident, but we had the police, of course, stopping us many times, which we also
Yeah.
thought, what is technically it's like a good story to tell, because kind of like in the movie Borat, obviously without breaking the law or doing anything too bad, of course. But I think it's always a good story when you're filming in the streets and you end up getting into trouble with the law, let's say. It's
Mm.
it's a good story to tell, at least. But thankfully nothing
Yeah.
bad happened, so yeah.
Yeah. That's really cool that you were able to. I was going to ask you about that. Would it have been quite a lot of guerrilla style filmmaking? Because I was actually in Lake Garda this year,
Oh,
and I
nice.
mean it's very obviously very built up, very tourist driven, and there's a lot of
Yeah,
police presence. So if you're trying to
there's a
make it,
lot. There
yeah,
is a
with that
lot.
kind of natural,
Yeah. There were some instances, because of course the characters. Keep in mind that the film is an hour and a half now, and
mm,
we shot over 100 hours of footage, so we had a countless amount of scenes and outtakes and things that were even 10 times wilder than the wildest scene that made the final cut. So of course, the characters were loud and hard to go unnoticed, and so
mm,
that of course got us into a bit of a trouble every now and then. But yeah, like I said, it was all good, and in the end we got a few laughs from the local police as well. So yeah, shout out
yeah,
the Italian Polizia and Sermione. That,
yeah.
yeah.
It's good that they've been able to kind of. Obviously, you will have issues, but they've been maybe a bit of leeway for you, or a certain you managed to get the
Hmm.
footage that you've needed, because Italian police can be scary. Like they've
Yeah,
dealt with them a few times, yeah, uh,
yeah, yeah.
intimidating. But so it was an interesting fact as well. You know, you've got the influencer side of it. Again, it's maybe I'm not trying to go back to when you were first writing again. Was because I think nowadays, for certainly someone of my age, I'm very out with the kind of influencer culture. It's all
Hmm.
very alien to me,
Yeah,
and I find even the concept of it very like I find that unsettling, which I think adds to Healing Andy
yeah,
for me.
yeah.
The kind of fake face that these influencers put on was that like how's the influencer thing for you? Like, is it something you've well not aware of, but exposed to it very much? Was it uh, did you view it in terms of the character in Healing Andy as a positive or a negative in terms of their character?
Yeah, so the to be honest, I've never really been exposed personally close to
Mm,
influencers or anything more than anybody else is on a daily basis. I do think, of course, that in the past, 10 years or so, the influencer character, have been exploited a lot, and has, of course, has become almost like a genre in and of itself. Making an influencer movie, it's
Mhm.
normal because they have become such a major part of a lot of young people's lives, of course, through social medias and that. So with Dealing Andy, funnily enough, the very first draft that I was talking about didn't have the influencer character, which is why I thought the story wasn't really working. So something was missing, and it was the influencer character that made it all make sense. Because I thought, okay, it's not just a group of friends going on a holiday, but there is this. You know, Almost a bit narcissistic, but still very loving towards his
Mhm.
bros influencer guy that is trying to, again, in one hand, help the friend heal, and on the other hand, capitalize for his own benefit. So I do think that because it's such a fresh concept, the influencer in today's day and age, it is of course quite attractive, especially when it comes to the found footage genre.
Yeah.
So, but yes, I mean, it is definitely again being exploited quite a bit, which is why we try to go in a slightly different direction with it, and hopefully give the people something, a slightly different, influencer found footage experience.
Yeah.
um but so yeah, I would say that's pretty much it. So nothing personal against any influencer. There is obviously
No.
the satire element to it, because um for me, the most important thing was to kind of show in the film as well how the influencer character shows during his live streams the best side of his life, the famous, Instagram life.
Mm.
And then behind the scenes, he was obviously battling with this life and death, larger than life situation thing. So it kind of created that sort of a satirical contrast that I found interesting: the famous Instagram life versus the normal life, but now taken into a genre format, really.
Mm. Um, and I won't go kind of too spoiler heavy, but I thought it was interesting. There's trying not to give anything away, but there's almost the kind of cult of fame alongside the cult kind of thing as well. You've got this influencer who's pressing himself and, as you said, showing that side of a situation that maybe isn't as it seems to the people he'll be showing it to. There's a scene where in particular, where he's wearing a mask and he's
Yeah.
talking about how he's at a great party, but it's
Yeah.
so much worse going on in the background. Like it was really
Exactly.
interesting with that. And then you've also got, yeah, cult element in the movie as well, and I think they kind of balance each other a wee bit because again, it's maybe just from my viewpoint, like being like people are famous for being famous, and there's that they're kind of enveloped in that, and then it almost feels cult like at times to me, and having
Hmm.
that also
Yeah.
bouncing around in Healing Andy as well, I thought was a really interesting kind of dichotomy, if that be the right word.
Yeah, you're right. Because in the end, again, without giving too much away, but the villain in the story, she ultimately makes use of the influencer's audience to preach her beliefs. Really, she she's going through this journey of her own. With this alien prophecy. She's this hyper um, religious uh, person that again wants to preach this her beliefs and this prophecy. And she realizes, well, I can actually use the tens of thousands of people watching this guy's live stream to
Mm,
obviously and weaponize that to preach, yeah, to preach my beliefs and spread the word of the prophecy. That's of course a part of the
mm,
narrative. So yeah, it is interesting the way also that you phrased it, because of course there is that element of cult that you can again see it from the way that the influencer um, talks to his audience, and then again how other people weaponize that
Mm,
and use it, because yeah, there are big platforms, of course, with tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands, or even millions of people watching, and just mm, listening and praising every word that this influencer say and do. So that could be for
mm,
better and for worse. And so it is actually a very interesting concept that, again, I think in Healing Andy we honestly touched on the surface only,
mm,
but it could be something interesting to dive into deeper, because it could really become a weapon in today's
mm,
society, especially. I mean, we see it every day. I mean, it's used in a lot of different formats, even in during elections and what have you. Like social medias and the audiences that they can reach is such a powerful tool that is really reshaping history and the way that we perceive um, even the truth and reality from people, which again, back to the point of Holger, like you said, is wearing a mask, pretending to go to this big lavish Drake party, when the truth
mm,
is that they're about to break in somebody's home, um, to get all their stuff that were stolen back from them the night before. So yeah,
mhm,
it's an interesting concept for sure.
mhm. And Gemma Acosta, who plays Ginger, her turn
Yeah.
in it is fantastic. She becomes manic and very
Yeah.
believable manic
Oh
very
yeah.
quickly. If
Hmm.
if she came up on my live screen, like live stream of anything, like
Oh
I'd
my god, yeah.
something a bit off about her, but she's great. The whole cast are great, I think, but just that switch she's able to turn on a dime. I
Yeah.
think this term is they use, but yeah, she's fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, she's an incredible actor.
Mm,
I wrote this character. We spoke about it before, her and I, in previous interviews. We were talking. We were supposed to do a project together that didn't happen, and so I was in the process of writing what then ended up being Healing Andy, and I remember we had this conversation in which I was trying to get out of her, like, okay, what would be your dream character? If you could choose amongst the millions of possibilities, what would be your dream idea, your dream character to play? And she
mm,
said, plain and simple, a fucked up hillbilly. That's literally what she said, and I was like,
yeah,
okay, that's a good pick. So I told her,
I'm up
yeah,
for that. Yeah.
give me a few months and I'll get back to you with something. And that's literally how Ginger came to be. So yeah, Gemma was an inspiration, literally in every sense, for the character. But yeah, she's such a sick actor. So I honestly couldn't have asked for anybody better, because, as you know, obviously Ginger is a bit of a chameleon. She wears different masks. So
Mm,
she plays different characters herself. So you really need someone that can, you know, that can impersonate both, that can sell both characters
mm,
in a way. So those are really hard to come by. And honestly, yeah, I've been honestly so lucky with Gemma. Otherwise, I don't think the film would have worked the way that it does without somebody like her playing that character.
mm. And obviously you mentioned your love of Creep as well, and I do see
Mm,
similarities in her type of performance with the Mark Duplass characters
yeah,
in Creep. They're very, again, the wrong thing said can turn them,
yeah.
and it was really interesting. You can see yeah, she is fantastic. As I said, the whole cast there, with Holger, Andy, Malcolm, and Maverick, you got that friendship with them. It was
Mhm,
interesting though as well because, as you said, it's that kind of bro holiday, and there's the kind of maybe over. You get the friendship, but there's maybe also the overconfidence of
mhm.
four guys being together, and especially with drink involved, drugs involved, and potential for violence involved. I think we all get ideas above our station.
Yeah,
Um, and try not to go too spoiler heavy, but a particular scene with involving nunchucks. It looked like
yeah. There's
near the end.
nunchucks. Yeah, there's
Yeah,
all
there's nunchucks.
sorts.
There's
There's
yeah, and
nunchucks
just
and
that
guns in
idea.
Healing End. Yeah, yeah. There
Yeah,
is.
nunchucks and guns and Lego. and
And Lego, yeah,
and yeah, yeah, and again, I thought it was just the way the four, Holger takes a mm, not try to spoil, so I won't go too much. Holger has kind of different character developments, a different character development individually, but I think the four of them all together, when they have these grand plans of how they're going to, for lack of a better word, kind of bust in and save the day.
hmm
And us as the viewer kind of going, I don't know, like I don't see how capable you're going to be, but
yeah.
it adds to that kind of, yeah, they've got that false confidence together.
Of course, yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, it's a great point because look, when the film starts, as you said, obviously they have that lads on tour, energy. We're just gonna go to
Yeah.
Italy. We're just gonna have fun. We're gonna make sure that Andy gets over the breakup with his ex fiance. That's our main mission. There's gonna be pool, drinks, good vibes, good times. It's everybody's obviously dream when you go on a holiday with your friends, and then of course, in this case, it's like, well, not everything is what it seems. So the whole film, if you think about it, it's technically a bit of a metaphorical journey that Andy goes through to heal, literally. Because again, without giving too much away, but obviously, Ginger in a way becomes a projection of the ex Andy's ex fiance, the one that left him. You know,
Mhm.
she ends up, of course, having a very similar trajectory with Andy that ignites once again a further step in his for his healing. It kind of shuts everything back down into this rabbit hole. And then, yes, as the film progresses, like you said, their confidence obviously starts to crack more and more and more until it becomes complete delusion, of course, when they have to fight for their lives. And then I think toward the end, one of the things that I was the proudest of, uh, considering, like I said, the hundreds hours of footage,
Mhm.
compressed down to this 1 hour and a half format, I think was being able to show that at the end of it, like you said, Holger had his own journey, but simultaneously, I think all of them did. Like by the end of it, this cocky and confident, and at times toxic with one another, guys end up having like a big moment of maturity and growth. They're
Mhm.
definitely way different people at minute 89 that they were at a minute 1 or minute 2 in the story. So it shows a pretty full circle journey that shows how this group of guys starts here, with all the preconceptions, the stereotypes of the lads on tour,
Mhm.
setup, and then ends up being, these are actually, real people with real feelings that uh, are more like diamonds in the rough, and they go through a lot of hardship to get the shiny diamond out of them in the end. But I think, yeah, I think in the end they do, and it's a beautiful journey to witness, and for me to have witnessed when making it. So hopefully people when watching the film will experience and feel the same way about it.
Yeah. Yeah, I do. And you mentioned a wee bit earlier about supernatural elements.
hmm
Um, for me, I think you've done a good job in making certain aspects quite ambiguous.
hmm
So, what was your thoughts on how much you wanted to lean in to the supernatural in it? Was it a case of keeping it ambiguous because you do have a lot of ideas going on in the movie? Don't want
yeah
to kind of overstuff or anything, but it works the way you've included it. I think works really well. How was your thoughts on that?
yeah so to me, the core of the whole supernatural element in the story was the eye of God, this
Mm,
alien artifact, as they describe it, that holds this mysterious power. So it's a pretty traditional supernatural trope, of course. But the thing that I found interesting was, as you were mentioning as well, creating the ambiguity around it, in the sense that
mm,
every character kind of perceives it in a different way, and until the end we don't really know what it can do. And so some characters take advantage of that, whether is the these religious fanatics, such as Ginger and the Boogeyman, trying to, of course, fulfill this prophecy that this artifact withholds, or whether
yeah,
is this other character that uses that at her own
mhm,
advantage, again, without giving away too much. So it kind of, yeah, I wanted to keep it as ambiguous as possible, but at the same time showing that whatever this thing is, it has, of course, this this incredible miraculous power, perhaps, that we might never be able to know what it does. But I think it's good to leave people questioning what it is, what it looks like. It's the whole Pulp Fiction suitcase thing.
yeah,
It's more interesting to let people imagine, okay, what does this thing actually do? What does it look like? So I wanted to leave it ambiguous for those exact reasons, really. Yeah.
yeah. I think you've made the right choice. It does adds to it, but doesn't take the focus away from kind of the story that you're telling. So just to kind of wrap up a wee bit, do you have any? What's the word I'm looking for? Do you have any more plans for Healing Andy, like to get it out to the world, to show it to other people?
So right now the main goal is for us to find a proper distribution for it.
Okay.
So we had, of course, the premiere at Frightfest last week.
Mm,
We are hoping before the end of the year or next year to continue a bit of the festival run. But at the same time, I think, especially after talking to a lot of people after a screening, it's the kind of movie that we really hope could get into the proper hands sooner or later. That could
yeah.
give it a either a small theatrical limited run, or even just a VOD release.
Mhm.
So we very much hoping and working toward that objective, and we'll see what happens, of course. Um, but yeah, I think that right now is going to be the main goal, to make sure that it finds the proper home,
Yeah.
somewhere where people could go and watch it, and share and spread the love if they enjoy it, and who knows, perhaps over time, maybe help the film grow and grow and grow. And I
Mhm.
think excuse me, I think, when it comes to like midnight movies, sometimes it's they always have that sort of like cult potential. It's the sort of movies that, if treated well and over time, they can really, find their audience. They're more timeless, rather than just in the moment and timely films. So I do think that a movie like Killing Andy could, over time, even if we don't sell it tomorrow per se, it's the kind of film that could really build, over time, its audience, its and the passion of those that will love it. So I'm hopeful, and yeah, we'll keep working toward that objective. So yeah, we can hopefully, next time that we chat, we might have, we might celebrate the, Healing Andy's release.
Yeah. Yeah. Fingers crossed for you. Hope you get it out to as wide an audience as possible. And you said these kind of get that cult following, that word of mouth, that can happen after Fright Fest as well. It just builds and builds, and hopefully you can
Yeah,
kind of catch that wave sort of thing. So
it's a
everything
wild
will be in.
movie. Yeah, no,
Mm,
no, sorry. I was saying it's a wild movie, like you were saying. There is nunchucks, there's guns, there's Legos, there is Home Alone references, there is dicks in pickle jars. It's a wild movie, like I said. It's a perfect midnight movie. So if you want to watch
yeah,
something crazy and wild, I think Healing Andy could, yeah, could fulfill your expectations, and your desires. So yeah.
yeah,
That's it, really.
perfect. And obviously everything is focused on. Healing Andy at the minute. Do you have
Mhm.
plans for your next feature? Are you
Yeah.
writing just now? Have you got you kind of, is that something you're actively always doing?
Yeah. I've been writing all day today, which is why I apologize if I look completely exhausted and maybe my answers are a bit all over the place because I've been literally writing for 9 hours nonstop today. Um, so no, I'm working on this on my second feature, which I am planning to shoot before the end of the year. So I'm literally at the finishing touches of the script as we are days away from entering prep, and I'm very excited about this one. This one is more of a horror,
Yep.
like proper full-on horror with still some pretty great comedic twist to it. I would say it's very much inspired by something like Evil Dead 2, the originals. So you can expect
Yeah.
that sort of craziness from it. But I'm super excited. I cannot wait to get back on set. Healing End again took 3 years to make. I loved everything about it, the whole experience, and it's been such a special first feature for me to make. But of course, I'm itching now, to get back on set, to move on to something new, and to grow as a
Hmm.
filmmaker. Of course, to learn from the good and the bad that I experienced during the making of Healing Andy, apply that to the new film, and just keep growing and getting better and making better and better films each time. So, fingers
Hmm.
crossed, if all the stars aligns, maybe next year or the one after that. We might have another chat about the new movie, and you and
Yeah.
I, and yeah, we'll touch base on everything Healing Andy, and see where we are at. Yeah.
Yeah. Did that feel then, obviously, having been in this process and having Healing Andy with you for 3 years, almost
Hmm.
having that screening at Fright Fest was almost it was like handing it off or handing it over to the people that have then
Yeah.
seen it, and it's not a weight off your shoulders because obviously you've loved making the movie and you've put your kind of heart and soul into it. But it is almost like it's like a weight off your shoulders to get onto with something else. Then, so you've passed it over.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, especially again with a festival like Fright Fest,
Mm,
in the First Blood Strand, which is and the Midnight Slot, which is something again that is a lot of filmmakers, first-time filmmakers in the genre world, dream really to have their movie premiere in there. So to have that stamp of validation from Fright Fest was something that, if anything, gave me an even bigger boost to get deeper into the next project and to, yeah, like you said, have now the world experience Healing Andy, and have it walking on its legs now after 3 years of me nurturing it, and try to make
mm,
sure it was going to be as ready for the world as possible. So it is going to be, I would say this in conclusion, that it is of course going to be mm, like a sort of parallel journey that both Healing Andy and my next feature will have, because
yeah.
again, we just started the festival circuit, and um, God only knows what could happen with that, with the distribution. So it might be again a thing that could, of course, carry on until next year. So I will have, of course, to juggle that whilst making the next feature, which is, of course, very exciting. But again, it's just to say that, yeah, I will be there with Healing Andy still until it finds its home,
Mm,
sooner or later. So that's still going to be something that I will have my main focus on at all times, despite of whatever else I'm doing. So absolutely, that's right now that's the goal.
perfect. So we'll leave that there. Villablanca, thank you so much for your time tonight.
Thank you.
Congratulations on the movie. Good luck with the distribution and getting it out to people. And yeah, well, next time we see you, hopefully we'll have that distribution. We'll be talking about that and the next feature as well. So I look forward to it.
Yeah, fingers crossed. Fingers crossed. Well, thank you so much
Yeah.
for having me. It's been a pleasure, and yeah, I hope you enjoy the rest of your evening. And I mean, the name is perfect, by the way, Andy for Healing Andy. I just wanted to say that it was meant to
Yeah.
be. I mean, we have to say that we can't address the elephant in the room. Of course, You know,
Yeah.
it's yeah, just meant to
Aye.
be. So yeah, it was perfect.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for having
Make
me.
a documentary about me next, so that's fine. Cheers.